Let's jump into today's DIY. We have a simple and fun craft today that you can do at home and start using this weekend. I received a question from an audience member asking, what do I do for skin? Here in Nova Scotia, we have climbing on the sharpest, most skin unfriendly style in all of rock climbing. We are an FDP dominant climbing area that relies on the crystalline structure of our coarse coastal granite to provide gripping texture for your fingers. That results in very rapid fingertip skin wear, as well as gruesome injuries depending on the season. With that in mind, I never ever use anti-hydral. I know that it can be quite effective, especially for indoor climbing on gym holds where you're very unlikely to have a tear. Here in Nova Scotia, the side effects of anti-hydral are not worth the risk. You can have literal season-ending skin tears. When we were experimenting with anti-hydral here on this local granite, a friend of mine had a skin tear so bad that we had to suture it closed. The issue with anti-hydral is that the thickened skin that results is not the same as natural callus. You're essentially preserving your fingertips in a similar manner to embalming or the preparation of medical cadavers. The dihydral skin does not have high tensile strength, and as well, it causes it to lose adherence to the living tissue underneath the dermis. The tears that can result are complete delaminations that can take off huge chunks of your fingertip, and those tears take upwards of a full month to recover from by the time you can re-epithelialize and then grow thick, project-worthy skin. If that happens in primo season and you're on Sen Goes on the project, it's game over. You can blow an entire season in one unlucky moment. So while dihydral has a place and it can be helpful, it's just not worth the risk on our particular sharp granite climbing. With dihydral not being an option, what you want is natural callus. The only way to acquire natural callus is to apply slightly painful pressure to the dermis and stimulate that callus formation naturally. Some people use something called the dangle board. It's a hangboard with a rougher surface texture. The issue I have with those is that that is the very definition of junk volume. You cannot hang on that thing to the failure point, or else you'd be counterproductive. You'd be losing skin, not stimulating callus production. Hanging short of that failure point is just impairing the recovery from actual productive grip sessions. It's going to extend the recovery interval and lower the amount of climbing and or gripping that I'm going to be able to do in a season. So for me, not an option. I've come up with basically the same mechanism, but this is where our DIY comes into play. What I have on my fingers are a series of clamps. They have an articulating head with a finger-shaped pad and a very aggressive texture that presses into the finger in the same way that a dangle board would. The difference here being that there's a padded rest on the opposite side. I can screw down that clamp and apply far more force than I ever could apply hanging from an edge with zero effort and zero impact on my forearms. This is an ideal solution where you aren't getting junk volume and you're forming natural callus that has that higher tensile strength and better pliability than dihydral skin. If you'd like to 3D print these for yourself, the files are going to be available on my website, mobeta.ca/files. You can download the STL and print out the parts required to make this. Let's jump now into my workshop and go through the very quick process of putting these guys together. We're in my workshop and we have all the materials assembled that we're going to need for this project. Parts should be orientated on the print bed as shown here. Pull those off and set them aside. The clamp itself prints in 2 parts. That is because this geometry doesn't allow it to be printed assembled. It's best split in half. And then finally, the clamp itself should be printed on its side for maximum strength. Printed in the standing orientation, you will not have enough strength to support the clamp force necessary. On its side, with sufficient print quality, it's bomb-proof. The first step, we will assemble the clamp. That is super straightforward. A little bit of CA glue. Put a nice thin coat, line it up, and press fit. So there we go. The clamp is ready. Up next, we're going to make the padding. So it would be too painful to clamp down against this hard plastic, and so we need to pad the nail bed side of the clamp. For that, I use an old yoga mat. You can see I've been making skin clamps for a while here. I'm going to cut out a rectangular segment in the same shape as the gripper here. Perfect. Same thing. We're going to nicely coat it with the CA glue. Place it into its orientation. And then what I do is I take something approximately finger-shaped and I clamp it down. And then I leave it there until the glue is dry. And that is going to form a very, very tight bond with the yoga mat and this plastic. I've never had one of the finger pads come loose. The final step to make this whole system more pleasant to use is a little dollop of Vaseline, and just coat those threads and the ball joint. And that'll make the clamp function a whole lot smoother. And I've only ever needed to do this once. All right, let's click it in place. These 3D printed plastic threads will loosen up over time. My well-worn in skin clamps are very pleasant to use. And there we have it. It is ready for use. This is a cheap and easy DIY that you might find useful for your climbing.